Katelyn Tuohy is officially a professional runner. She signed with Adidas just a few weeks after her final cross-country race for the NC State Wolfpack. She's basically been competing at the pro level for the past year now anyway. That's why some of her races are against them more than anyone in a college uniform. In fact, Katelyn Tuohy winning a distance race is such a common occurrence over the past decade that it's much more noteworthy if she fails to win for some strange reason. And if you watch my channel, then you know that I have made my thoughts on Katelyn Tuohy abundantly clear. And I don't want to be the guy who keeps talking about the same athlete over and over and over again. So I have no intentions on doing that. But when the most transcendent women's distance runner that we've seen at the high school and college level turns professional, it is time that we give her the credit that she deserves. So this video is all about how I really feel about Katelyn Tuohy. The cold hard facts as well as I understand them. Because now that her college career is officially over, we have everything that we need to give a proper assessment. As far as I'm concerned, Katelyn Tuohy is legitimately the LeBron James of women's distance running, and I'll prove it to you. No women's distance runner has ever been as dominant as she was at the amateur level in high school, and built up as much hype as a result of it. So her college career was bound to come with a lot of scrutiny. But now, a whole bunch of records and championships later, we can acknowledge that we are all witnesses to her greatness. There may not be another runner quite like her in my lifetime, because her career up until now could not have gone much better if you had scripted it out as a Hollywood movie. And this is the real reason why. And if anything that I say actually connects with you, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe. But if I don't, just let me know in the comment section, because I try to read them all. I've said it before, but I'm really not making this up. I first heard about Katelyn Tuohy from a high school track and field team that I was coaching at the time. At the same time, I was the head coach of an NCAA cross-country program, as well as a high school track team. So needless to say, my focus really wasn't on the high school track scene quite like that. They told me that none of the distance running girls on our team had a chance of winning anything at the sectional meet, because a young lady from North Rockland High School was in our section. Her name was Katelyn Tuohy, and that was the same season where she would go on to win the Gatorade Player of the Year award for the best high school girls athlete in the nation. And if you notice, I didn't say anything about track in the title, because she was named the best high school athlete, regardless of sport. And if you actually remember when it happened, she was only a sophomore in high school at the time. In that season alone, she broke the high school record in the 5K, 3200, and the mile. Remember, this is not her senior year of high school yet. That level of range is hard for any distance runner to accomplish, much less be the fastest runner to ever do it in all of them. I conveniently left out, she also ran the fastest cross-country time in the 5K ever recorded. But I guess that really ain't a surprise now, is it? I'm not gonna rattle off every championship Katelyn won in high school. There's not enough time for it. The only way to explain it is that she was so good that one of the parents from my team rushed into the sectional meet, and when he got there, he said, "Did I miss it? Did I miss her run?" And to clarify, he had a son on the team. When he arrived, he was more concerned with watching Katelyn Tuohy than anything else in that moment. At the high school level, Katelyn Tuohy was the chosen one, just like LeBron James. The only difference is that track and field isn't like basketball, so there was really no incentive for her to skip college to go pro. In fact, NIL came around just in time for her to be compensated while doing it anyway. All of Katelyn's high school success is the reason for the hype, but in her college career is where the story really gets interesting. Anything less than winning national championships was bound to be a disappointment, and Katelyn chose to run for NC State, that had never won a national championship in cross country or track and field, at least before she got there. For the record, that's just like the Cavaliers had never won anything in the NBA until a kid from Akron, Ohio led them to the promised land. Katelyn began college in 2020, and things were pretty unusual back then. So her first collegiate races were actually in 2021, and she didn't win anything. I'm not making this up. Not one single heat in her first collegiate season. At that point, nobody knew what to think. Because remember, the hype was real. But Katelyn did run in a cross-country championship in March of 2021. It was basically like a makeup meet for the one they missed in 2020. She didn't win the meet outright, but her performances helped NC State to finish second overall in the entire nation for a team that had never been that close to the top. And after that, her freshman outdoor season was also underwhelming. She didn't even run at the NCAA championship when it was all over. But that would be the last time that she finished a year of college without one NCAA championship to show for it. Immediately after that, as a sophomore in cross country, she helped NC State to win the NCAA championship, their first ever in history. It was only a sign of things to come, because she then ran indoors in the 3K and the 5K and finished second overall at the NCAAs in both. It was still a disappointment considering all the hype. But remember, this woman didn't even run at the NCAAs the year before. By the time the outdoor season was done, she had figured out this whole running in college thing, because she became the NCAA outdoor champion in the 5K. That was 2022 and her first individual title, but it was also the beginning of her reign as queen of the track. From that moment, Katelyn Tuohy literally never lost a college race, all the way through cross country and all the way through the indoor season in 2023. She would win national titles in cross country, and then the 5K and 3K indoors. And of course, she led NC State to a repeat team title in cross country. But on top of all that, she broke collegiate records in both the mile and the 3K. The only thing that makes this movie even more interesting is if you were paying attention, in 2022 at that cross country championship, there was a woman behind her. Her name was Parker Valby. In fact, she had to chase her down in order to win that championship. And by now, you should already know why it matters. Spoiler alert, after dominating the NCAA for almost a full calendar year, Katelyn underachieved during the outdoor season. She didn't race much, but when she did, she was still for the most part in the front of the race. But when you're as good as she became, by that point, the only things you're really running for are collegiate records and national titles. She was actually the top seed in the 5K for the NCAA Outdoor Championship meet. But first she would lose in the 1500 and then fail to get on the starting line for the 5K. But Parker Valby was there and she won that race, running 1 second faster than Katelyn Tuohy's seed time entering in. Which brings us to the 2023 cross-country season, Katelyn's final one, competing in a college uniform, a season where her first race was at the Nutty Comb Invitational, where she did what she always does. Katelyn ran away from basically everyone. She beat the entire field by more than 20 seconds. It was pretty impressive because there were 250 runners in that race. But there was also one small problem. Parker Valby was in the race, and unlike everybody else, she wasn't behind her. Parker Valby ran away from Katelyn, while Katelyn ran away from everyone else. And that was not supposed to happen. We had never really seen anyone run with Katelyn, much less beat her when she looked like she was on top of her game. She continued on to win every other race she would enter for the rest of the season, setting up a showdown at the NCAA championship meet between Katelyn Tuohy and Parker Valby. And just about everybody knew this would be her final collegiate race. But after the gun went off, it was pretty clear that something was off with Katelyn Tuohy, and she ran like it. Not only did she lose to Parker, but she also lost to 3 other women. Nobody saw that coming, and she finished 5th overall. And at that moment, I wondered what happened to Katelyn Tuohy, and I figured that the team title hopes for NC State were all but over. But after that race, we found out the truth, that Katelyn Tuohy, the most talented collegiate distance runner we'd ever seen in the modern era, was very sick before that championship race. She was so sick, in fact, that her coach said after it she wasn't sure Katelyn was even gonna finish the race at all. Katelyn was gutting it out the entire way through the race and held on to finish in 5th place. She was still the best finisher for NC State by a pretty wide margin, and that actually mattered, because without her performance on a day when nobody would have blamed her for sitting it out to preserve her legacy, the Lady Wolfpack of NC State would not have won their 3rd straight NCAA title. The final score was 123 to 124, NC State over Northern Arizona. During Katelyn Tuohy's final race of her college career, she was much more like Michael Jordan than she was LeBron James, because Jordan's flu game only mattered because he led the Bulls to an NBA title. With that performance, Katelyn Tuohy practically did the same thing, winning a national title in a three-peat. Sounds a whole lot like Jordan to me, and she did it by pulling out a performance that only the greatest of athletes can. Katelyn Tuohy was the most hyped distance runner that we had ever seen to run in college. I think that's safe to say, and she also earned that label as the most dominant high school distance runner we had ever seen. She faced adversity early in her college career and then figured out how to win. So well, in fact, they're all still chasing her records. But then Parker Valby happened, the only woman who could ever figure out how to run with her when she was at her best. And when all else failed, including her body, she still figured out how to get the job done. Because even if she wasn't the individual champion, her entire team was, for the 3rd straight time. I'm not sure what her professional career will look like, but like most of you, I will be paying attention. But as far as her amateur career is concerned, in high school and college combined, Katelyn Tuohy is the GOAT. She's a really tough act to follow, but Parker Valby is gonna try. And of course, it's an Olympic year for both of them. All that being said, I'm not making another Katelyn Tuohy video, at least not until she forces me to do it, which could be just about any race that she runs from this point on. SCA track and field gear is here. Fast is a lifestyle, and what you wear should reflect that. Pick up yours at scarecruiting.com/shop, or use the link in the description below. It's a huge support to me and this channel, so I can continue to make you more content like this. And remember, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe.